Next section. So this is going to be data in sentencing settlement and then kind of new era of experts. I want to really take some time on this one. It's important to understand that while we're going through this particular set of slides, it's never going to be a perfect application of AI to what we're trying to do. And again, I don't practice in the civil area. I only do criminal defense. That's our passion. That's what our firm does. But I certainly have dabbled in it here or there in my younger career and have a lot of friends that work in it. So try to apply it to your practice field and see where it can get you. So first up, get to that slide. All right. So for criminal sentencing, I don't know what else is out there, but we have what's called ESAS, right? So it's equity and sentencing analysis. So this is an amazing tool we have where in the state of Florida, I can only talk about us, right? Let's take it way back, right? There was allegations of discrepancy in sentencing of people of color based upon race, geolocations, you name it, right? Anything where there could be bias. So the state of Florida implemented something that was quote unquote objective. Don't agree with it, but hey, here we are. And it's called the score sheet. So every prior offense you've had maintains a score. The current offense has a score. There can be amplifiers to said offense, right? And it's all listed under a statute and they have certain levels and it goes into a formula. And if you score 44 points or more, then you would be looking at prison time absent some, a great case, the state breaking the case down or not offering prison, downward departures, McGrill motions, all kinds of things in the criminal field that will help you get away from that prison sentence. But nevertheless, that score is on there. Now, that's just the formula. That's kind of the minimum. It doesn't really say the judge has to sentence you to the minimum. It just is a score for the judge to evaluate where there puts that bottom baseline. Okay. There's a middle and there's a top as well. But what if there was a database of this data, of these dispositions by statute, where you're going to be able, and score sheet, combining them with another data plot of judge, and you're able to pull all of the cases from that judge, showing what did Judge Bobby sentence someone to who scores 56 points for the offense of felony DUI with the statute number ABC or letter ABC, and let's pull that data. You can get a name of all of the cases that resolved within a score sheet range. You could put a range in there of, let's say, 55 points to 70 points, if you wanted to do that. Click on all of those cases that Judge Bobby has resolved and see what his average sentence is before trial, meaning if it's a negotiated resolution, or after trial. Because again, if you go to trial, a lot of times there's a tax. You can see if it was probation, if it was some county time, if it was prison time. You can look at if there was a violation of probation. You can get the docket number. You can pull the docket number up. You can try to read the probable cause affidavits, the police reports in there to compare to see if it was more egregious than your case or less egregious. So you can make and put together a database. We did this on one of our cases for an open plea, meaning that the state and us couldn't come to a resolution where the state was asking for the maximum in prison, 5 years on this case. And, the score did not come close to that. And then when we did the objective data, that judge in particular and other judges in that county, showed that the just score in this particular case is nowhere near prison. And so our client did not end up getting prison, which is great. But it wasn't without, and we had to have a big sentencing hearing where the victims showed up. It was a big deal, but this data was amazing because it wasn't, Judge, don't let me tell you how great my client is. Don't let me cross-examine a witness per se or say how sorry we are and show all the mitigation my client's done, because that's great. That's traditionalist. But what if we coupled that, and we did. We had one lawyer at our firm, board-certified lawyer of our firm, go ahead and present one part of the sentencing, or the open plea. And that was all about the mitigation of our client. We put on some witness on the stand, the traditional route. And then we went and had our tech, our data, this AI software, if you will, pull all of this data, give a summary, and we were able to put charts on a slide deck and present to the judge why the objective sentence should be this and not that, beneficiary to our client. And in fact, some of the ones like, we did maybe, I'm just gonna say a number, let's say there was 15 of them. I pulled maybe 2 or 3 that had a harsher sentence than normal, the outliers, right? If we're doing a plot of this, the outliers of sentencing that really dragged this average up, even though it was nowhere near close to what the state was offering. And I pulled that data and I go, actually, look, these were egregious and these were downfiled, meaning that they were originally a much more serious case. And upon negotiation with the state, they resolved to a lower offense, and it's pulling the data of the lower offense because that's what the case resolved to. So it really opens up the eyes of a judge of, okay, I mean, my heart and emotion may feel one thing, but this objective data, and don't we want our judges and our whole process to be as fair as possible and objective as possible? One of my slides I get in the past, but I didn't comment on it. I'll comment at the end, is objective data and the importance of objective data. I'll get to that at the end, but don't we want that objective data? And so this equity and sentencing analysis from Technologies for Justice is an amazing tool that I think every criminal defense lawyer should have. It is something we use for our clients, and it is just, it's amazing to be able to look across the table and pull these sentencing analysis for clients when they meet with us and let them know what their judge typically does in this case. So it's not off of feel or misrepresentations or whatever it may be that we see in our field. And then apply that to the civil side of settlement analysis. So what if, and I'm sure some of the big firms have this, right? Again, we were a small firm going to that big, quote unquote, criminal defense firm, but middling firm compared to some of these firms that are 200 people big, 100 people big. I don't know how much data they've got on this. I'm sure there's a lot. I remember back in the day on Westlaw, you'd be able to pull cases that were similar to yours and see what the settlements amounts were for those particular cases that were kind of akin. It wasn't perfect and it seemed like it was lacking. Obviously, it doesn't pick up everything. What if there is an AI that picks up everything, all the local settlements, right? Everything that's possibly pullable, scalable, if you will. What if firms banded together and shared information? Now, I'm not saying that would happen, but what if? And we were able to then see if someone's coming in with a soft tissue issue with these type of pre-existing conditions, this fact pattern of injury versus this insurance company, and we have the objective data of what it should be. Wouldn't that make our lives a lot easier, and then be able to advise our clients better and proceed forward with that objective, fair data? I certainly think it would be. So that's something that we should always take into consideration when we're looking at AI and its capability, is how can we not just use it to bend the data to our will, or the case law to our will, and find really persuasive arguments for our clients, but also really take a step back and go, if I can find objective data to support my position and really take the advocacy out of it. I know it's not out of it all the way, but allow me to say, don't take the blown smoke to the court of how great my client is or how great my case is, or to the jury, right? And we're able to get objective certifiable data. Think about how incredible and supportive that is, where you can take a step to the side and go, look, jury, you may like me and they may not like me, but here's the data. So I don't even know why we're here because it says clear as day what the settlement should be or what everything should be. So I'm very excited to see what is in the future in terms of this kind of analysis. So there will be, okay, and there's a really cool article that I'm getting to here, a new area of experts. There will be. They're probably already there. We haven't used them yet, but this is going to be something where we need to be prepared as practitioners to have a deep fake AI forensic analysis, let's say, if you will, of data expert on deck, on hand, to be able, we have a few that I can think of that we can use, but in terms of actually using them for a deep fake yet, I haven't. Okay, but I'm sure we're going to, and we're prepared for that. And you should be too. Right now, right, not just is the deep fake stuff an issue, okay, whether it be video deep fake, where someone, as Adam was talking about before, in marketing technologies, you can feed it your voice and you can take a few videos with it, and next thing you know, it's you, okay, and you're filming 30 hours of video content for marketing that isn't you, it's your AI self. That is so cool and awesome, but also really scary and terrifying. if someone's ever trying to allege that you committed an offense, someone's trying to allege that you were doing something that you never did, whether that's in family court and PI, in criminal court, what you name it, right? It's terrifying. And furthermore, think back to, I used to play video games. You would create a player in Madden or NCAA or NHL hockey sports games for anyone who's not following, and you would take a picture of your face and would kind of put it on this digital player. And I remember thinking, wow, that's crazy. What if we could like do that and just have like an AI version of me just kind of living in the metaverse? Now the metaverse is a thing. Again, not a futurist, but maybe my 15-year-old self was. But now it's getting to be, okay, well, this is getting really scary. Because you have crypto schemes online where you'll have on your phone, right? You'll be on Instagram and you'll have a buddy of yours say, hey, DM me. I work with Bobby, and Bobby gave me 80 grand in Bitcoin. Just put your information here. He's going to help you out too. And it's a video of that person talking. And that person was hacked. This happened to a buddy of mine. That person was hacked, and their website, their profile was posting that. And 2 or 3, I don't remember, of his contacts actually reached out to that person. Now, I don't know if they were scammed as well, but this is the new era of crime, of AI, of deepfake that we're getting into. So that's one thing we always have to be concerned about and have on hand. But furthermore, as practitioners, we need to be prepared for an entire new battle in court of evidence, where if video is being produced, if text messages are being produced, those records need to be authenticated. Not just in the traditional sense, but I believe that we're going to start having more evidentiary hearings, more pretrial evidentiary hearings, deeper hearings, meaning that it's not just going to be at the traditional rules. We're going to have questions as to whether this is fake, whether this is not, what the probability is. The judges are going to have to go through additional training and be prepared to do this. The appellate courts are going to have to scale and figure this out. I don't know how it's going to happen. I just know that we're, as practitioners, these cases, as data and pictures and videos and whatever comes in more frequently, I'm seeing it more frequently all the time. I'll ask clients in a consult, a strategy session where they're signing up with us, like, hey, is there any evidence or multimedia that will be beneficial to your case? And it used to be 10 years ago, I think I got some text messages that might help. Now there's Ring camera videos. I screen recorded their Instagram. They were chatting me on WhatsApp. I've got a Discord that they're a part of. They have a YouTube channel. They have a content page of OnlyFans. We see that a lot, right? There is an incredible amount of data out there that's not just now letters. It's pictures, it's voices, that audio. And we really need to prepare as practitioners when we're sitting down with clients to evaluate, is there anything that can help us? And what out there might be from the other side there to hurt us? And how can we attack that? Or even not just attack it, how can we evaluate that in a way to make sure that we're protecting our clients from being scammed, or the court even from being scammed, or even opposing counsel? Opposing counsel is not going to know what's fake or not. And so most times, right? Here, I'm going to reference this, and it goes on to the next slide. The National Center for State Courts published an AI interim guidance report, meaning that and in that report, basically, we don't know how to handle this. But here's some of the stuff we're thinking about. And it's titled AI and the Courts, Digital Evidence and Deepfakes in the Age of AI. It was just published a few months ago. And so there's the source, right? If you wanted to actually kind of take it down to you look at on your own, or just Google this title. But on the next slide, I took a big snippet of that article, okay? And on that snippet, I want to talk about a few things. So, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to zoom in very close, guys. I can't read it from here. Perhaps I have an ability to look at it on my other screen. Let me do that. How about that? I'm going to use Oh, it got zoomed in for me. Thank you, whoever helped. All right, so on the blue arrow on the left side, right? I'm going to read just 1 or 2 sentences for each little thing, right? The existing federal rules of evidence and the various state rules of evidence require that any evidence submitted must be real, and that the party submitting the evidence has the obligation to authenticate it by proving that the evidence is what it purports to be. Now, we're just getting used to authenticating social media posts and text messages over here, right? And doing everything we can to authenticate it and support that down in Florida at our firm. And we're really good at it. And we see other practitioners still struggling, and we make the appropriate objections. And sometimes judges still aren't up to speed. But I remember 10 years ago having appellate reasons pop up to overturn convictions because judges didn't allow in certain evidence or allowed in certain evidence against our client that they shouldn't have without the proper authentication if we challenged it as fake or objected to it in court. So now what happens, right? Are the current rules sufficient? And this is the most important part, the orange arrow. This is the one where I was kind of alluding to on the previous slide and makes you think, right? At present, tools to detect deepfakes are not as sophisticated as the tools to create deepfakes, such that not all deepfakes will be identifiable. So what we're being told, okay, is interim guidance as we're trying to sort through this slop of AI created content, is the recognition software, the recognition AI, the police AI is not as good as the criminal AI, if you think of it that way. The fakes are winning. And they're not, you run them through, hey, identify this as fake or not. You run it through an AI to detect. And what it's saying is that it's so good that not that you're not going to be able to, it's just that it's hard, right? That there is one side that will prevail through the means and methods that we currently have. So what do we need to think about? Well, there's the red arrow. Talk about experts. Talk about what I was talking about before, the need to have more evidentiary hearings, pretrial evidentiary hearings. The litigation is going to go on longer and be more intense as more multimedia comes into our courts. Everything needs to be challenged. Everything needs to be looked at under a microscope. And it says here, right? If deepfakes become ubiquitous, love saying that word, the perception may shift to believing every piece of evidence is fake or has been altered. If so, this may require a more arduous authentication process routinely involving experts, cost, new technology, elongating the length of trials. This would be a significant shift from the current practices. So everything that I had thought previously, and I'm reading this article in preparation for this, was like, wow, I think we're aligned here, and this is going to be the new reality. And I think all of us can understand that if something is ubiquitous, if it's in our courts consistently, and it's everywhere, and data's flooding in, and videos are coming in, and that's the new era. People talk in meme, right? Sometimes people don't even send text message to each other. People talk in pictures, emojis, right? It's only going to become more and more frequent that this is going to be an area where new experts need to be flooding into our court systems to help us sift through this, and trustworthy experts. So I really want to, emphasize again that this is something I believe where it's our responsibility as lawyers to challenge all the evidence that's coming across our desks to see, is this real? Is this not? And what can we do to make sure we're protecting our clients' rights and advocating in the best fashion forward? And one of the things I wanted to talk about were these deep fakes. It's so easy, right? You're seeing AI. If you have it can within, I think it was like 4 minutes, create a full-length film with actors' faces, movements, and voices that's almost indistinguishable from their real acting and methods and diction, the way they talk and everything. It's incredible. So think of it, we're going to have AI at our hands that can create a full-length movie with superstars in minutes. How quickly that's going to trickle down to the areas of PI, family law, criminal defense, where people tend to want to make their case as perfect as it is, or as perfect as it can be, because people are greedy and want money. And if this tech is available to help them produce their case, we need to make sure that we're doing what's fair and right and reviewing it. And I think that's our ethical and moral obligation. Okay. So in closing, here's a few things I want us to go over. That Your Undivided Attention podcast. It says Tristina. I'm sorry, Tristan. I don't know how an A got in the end of there, but it's Tristan Harris and Azar Raskin. That is the podcast that I would really recommend to you guys to review while we're going on this kind of journey together through AI. Listen to a few of their podcasts. You're going to be transformed. I've probably listened to maybe 10 or 12 of their episodes, and it's awesome. And it really gets you in a good space too, right? Trying to figure out, wow, the world's changing. How can I ride this wave rather than drown in it? because if you aren't riding this wave and pushing forward, it's going to drown you. And it really talks about unprecedented power of AI, and they're futurist, right, where they can talk about the emerging technologies that are going to come. There's a book, The Human Enhancement by Nick Bostrom. That's a kind of 10 commandment book, if you will, on AI. And I want to make sure that you guys understand when you're looking through these books, that AI Superpowers book is a really cool one if you're interested in it, but that's more AI on the global scale. And when we're talking about AI on a global scale, we don't have enough time on this CLE to talk about it, but it's definitely something that we should look into to see where the US is versus China or some of our other competitors. We have some time left over, so I will do a small recap. What I want to talk about is that objective data. I said I was going to come back to that slide. So I'm going to push it right here. Our good friend data is on there, where it says objective data is the best data. Is firm management databases, KPIs, internal reports, and more. I skipped that. And this is probably my bread and butter, right? What I'm really, really good at in terms of finding objective data to fairly hire, fire, reward, promote, manage our office. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to give someone a raise because you like them. You don't want to hire someone because you like them. You don't want to, at a performance review, just feel bad for them because they're going through something. And go on that gut feeling that historically law offices do go off of. We have now started to have KPIs. So that's key performance indicators. We've had them before internally, but we want to make sure as a manager of a firm that you're letting people know what their KPI is, measure it on a weekly basis, review it so they know how far off the expectation they are. And if they're off, let's help them get up to where we need to. And that key performance indicator, if they're doing that, there's a few you can have, but if you have one per person at the very least, and that person is hitting that indicator, your firm's going to project upward, not just in profitability, but in product, right? In culture. There's a lot of things that could be measured that aren't just numbers for a settlement, that aren't just cases processed, money collected. There's more to it than that, and where you can really get into the human nature of data. And again, I don't want to go too much into that right now because that could take a long time, but running reports is important. So when we're talking down below about those CRMs, if you're interested in taking your firm to a next step or starting your own firm or going to your supervisor, if you're watching this as an employee, and say, hey, look, I really want us to really get into this. I found this really cool CLE with this really, really good looking guy, Manny, and this not so looking guy, Adam. And we were talking about all these case management software. Here's some names. Can we look into them and see, right, what can be on there to allow for you to run objective data, to make unemotional decisions, to reward the people that are doing amazing work for you, and not just go, like I said, based upon whether you're feeling good that day or not. And if you can run a firm on that objective data and those reports, whether it be cases closed, money collected, motions filed, it goes on and on, cases assigned within the last month to know if someone's being overworked and you need to pull back and say, hey, we need to assign some more cases to Sally because Johnny just got 52 in 3 weeks, right? That's a lot. And then see in the case stages too, measure on those CRMs, how long has a case been in the depot phase? How long has it been in the settlement phase? How long has it been in a trial phase? How long was it in the pre-suit phase? And pull the cases in those phases and actually assign next to them like an energy rating. Okay, if a case is in a pre-filing stage, the energy rating is a 1, versus if the case is in a trial phase, the energy rating is a 5 on a scale of 1 to 5, meaning if there's 5 cases in pre-file, or in pre-file, it may equal to 1 case in trial. Whatever that metric system that you have in your firm to develop to really make sure that your firm is operating at a strong capacity, and to see when some team members can take on more or when some are redlining, right? A business coach of ours says that you can redline at a firm for about 2 to 3 weeks before burnout just completely crushes morale. And so we want to know if we're approaching that red line to see what can we do to either help with the burden, or if the red line persists, see a trend, know we need to hire. Or if the trend goes down, what do we need to do? Do we need to cut back? Do we need to make sure that are we overspending on certain things? You can run your budget and what you spend on versus payroll versus cost of running the firm. All of these things are data, objective data that can be housed in that CRM down below. Most of them can do that. And it's really cool to make sure that we have guardrails too on ourselves as managers to know, let's say, what data is dirty, okay? Because you don't want to be using data that is dirty, obviously. But what does that mean? Someone, management, right, is not just trusting someone to put in the correct number of data into your CRM. You're only as good as your data. So you got to trust and verify, right? So you got to make sure that you're going to verify the process of whatever data was in there, entered there, make sure it's valid. Because the last thing you want to do is someone's gaming you. Obviously, that's a fireable offense if you put in fake data into there. But if you're just using the reports, it's the same as just trusting ChatGPT to write a memo or a brief for you. Okay, so that's something I definitely wanted to go over with you guys. And then I do see some questions popping up here. So give me 1 second. Okay, I'm going to check them out. One, I got a question here. How should attorneys balance AI generated predictions with their own professional judgment? I mean, that's a loaded question. I think it's a give and take. So if we're thinking about, hey, and if I'm taking the question as correct, if the AI is going to tell you that the case should go this way, you don't have to listen to the AI, right? It's like I said, it's that helper along the way. It will give you an objective understanding of maybe where you should be if we're looking at settlement data, if we're looking at motion practice, if we're looking at a judge's record on certain issues. It allow you to make better informed decisions. But at the end of the day, it's not a lawyer. You are the lawyer. You are the person in charge of your case. You need to trust your professional judgment. And if you ever need to, like I always say, I know this is kind of a little off topic, but if we're getting into this, I always love our bar in Florida tells us to consult with, there's a rule in there to consult with another lawyer if you are in an area that is new to you or you're trying to get experience. When I first started, I was building my network of I need help, right? Way back trying to figure this all out about a decade ago. And it was the best thing I could do. So I would have that as my back pocket of call some of your peers and say, hey, look, this is kind of what data's telling me. This is what I'm thinking. What are you thinking? That way you can really have another practitioner who's licensed, who's taken their their board and passed it or bar and passed it, and make sure you're making complete decisions on a totality of the circumstances. See what else we got. So this is a really good one. So there's a question here about how can law firms ensure that sensitive case information remains confidential when using AI in a cloud-based environment? Brother or sister, whoever you are, I'm with you. That is a really, really hard thing to do. You've got to have, and again, I'm not an expert on AI, but you've got to talk to the vendors and see if they're insured, see not just the insured, if they have a closed network, ask them, where does this data go? Does this only live in our cloud? Does the data get sold off to anyone? It's hyper scary to think about what can happen if your client's sensitive information goes to, let's say, ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gets hacked or whatever it may be. I know ChatGPT, as of like 2 days ago, got a new round of funding that is equal to what Tesla or SpaceX got. So that company is growing and being about to be like the most massive thing in our community. So it's going to be a target for hackers. So I would not be feeding client sensitive information into ChatGPT itself. That's just my recommendation. I think you'd have to talk to some vendors and see if they have anything approved by the bar around them, saying, oh yeah, we work with Florida bar lawyers all the time. We go and speak at their ethics conventions, whatever it may be. But definitely vet the vendors. A lot of this AI movement takes a lot of management. And I say management, I just take someone who is going to not take the easy route, but take the appropriate route when hiring people and bringing them on board to make sure that they have, let's say, a kosher playing field while using their proprietary software. Got another one here. Okay, lots of questions coming in. How might AI technology change the approach to crime scene analysis, forensic investigation, particularly identifying patterns, anomalies that may go unnoticed by human investigators? So I kind of mentioned this before. That there's that I talked about the slide where it identified dog as a cat. Um, and so if we're looking at dog and cat here, um, this now I know this is a funny meme with it, but this is what I truly hope doesn't happen, only for my personal beliefs. I just don't like the oversight and surveillance of Big Brother everywhere. And it's probably not going to stop because we've got Tesla that's constantly recording their cars around. They got cameras all around, collecting data. We've got Google Earth everywhere where you can, it was shocking to some people to see their homes online and their license plates to their cars. You'll start to see those be blurred out. Um, there were times where people were recording deeds online that on those deeds, they still had social security numbers on the clerk of court that was public information. Now, in terms of crime, right, and anomaly, getting into identifying patterns, the I take a step back. I was shocked when I heard that there was devices on cars, on cop cars, that kind of ping as it's driving license plates around it. Someone called it like a stingray device, and then it will pull up onto their system whether the owner of that vehicle on the registration has a license that's suspended or not. And then an officer would get behind that vehicle and follow it until a traffic offense was committed, because they already knew their tech was there to say that there's a very strong likelihood that the person behind this car has a driving on a suspended license or a warrant outstanding, right? Being able to pull that. Think about that. And that was, oh goodness, it was over a decade ago, when I was kind of mind blown about that. And someone said, "Hey, look, you may not agree with it, but this is technology catching up to crime." I think right now, being able to establish patterns, if we're looking at people who have wrongful material online that they shouldn't have on a Google Cloud or platform, if they have a certain way of searching for stuff online or entrapping people, it may be able to sniff it out prior to crime occurring, whether that's trading material on a black web or crypto schemes or frauds. I could see law enforcement having an ability to utilize AI to see patterns, to see crime coming. Now, whether that crime commits first and then they make an arrest, or whether they prevent it, that's not for me to say. Obviously, I think that's an internal decision that law enforcement's going to have to make. So I greatly appreciate all the questions. Hope I was able to answer a bunch. And let me get to my last final slides here. So let's keep in touch. Okay, so if you scan that QR code, you want to reach out to me. If you got more questions, if you want to have a full discussion after, I'm telling you, I'm pretty into AI at the moment, trying to learn more and more, because it's not my cup of tea. My cup of tea is law firm management and writing motions. And I love using the data that we're able to collect and the tech to make our practice stronger, to help our clients, and to overcome the mighty state, just like some people in here might be overcoming the mighty insurance defense companies, or some family law lawyers might be having to overcome the spouse that has all the money and resources. What can equal that playing field? Getting familiar with the tech. So if there's anything I can do to help assist in that, certainly give me a ring. I would be so happy to help you, or even discuss if you've got something to share with me. I don't know everything. I'm really happy to learn. And then at the end, here's our firm. If you want to learn more about it, learn about our lawyers, get in touch with Adam. You can scan that QR code. We do practice in South Florida, other parts of Florida if needed. We have a federal white collar practice. So if you have any white collar questions or federal practice, David from our office handles a lot of those cases. So I'd be happy to help and share information. I was happy I got some good questions out of this. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.